Imagine walking out into your garden and being greeted by hydrangeas that bloom endlessly, month after month, without all the extra fuss. What if I told you there are specific varieties that don't just survive, but thrive, turning your garden into a show-stopping display of color? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. In this video, I'm sharing my top 5 hydrangeas that give you long-lasting, vibrant flowers with minimal effort. Whether you're brand new to gardening or a seasoned green thumb, these are the ones that will deliver for you, year after year. And trust me, you don't want to miss number 3. It's practically indestructible. I promise, once you see it, you'll want it in your garden. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I've been gardening for years, experimenting, learning, and sometimes making a few mistakes along the way. But through all of that, hydrangeas have always held a special place in my heart. I still remember planting my very first hydrangea. I was so excited. And then, of course, I pruned it at the wrong time of year and ended up with nothing but leaves the next season. But that was the turning point for me. I started researching, testing, and carefully choosing varieties that not only survive, but actually thrive with very little maintenance. And today, those same plants bring color and joy to my garden for months on end. So in this video, I'm going to save you the years of trial and error and show you my go-to hydrangeas, the ones that truly deliver endless flowers and require almost no fuss. If you love simple, effective gardening tips that make your yard come alive, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future gardening guides. But first, let's dive straight into these bloom machines. All right. Let's kick things off with the very first hydrangea on my list, and I have to say, this one is absolutely perfect if you're just starting out. Meet the Hydrangea macrophylla, also known as the Bigleaf Hydrangea. This classic beauty is one of the most recognizable varieties, and for good reason. Picture this: large, globe-like flower heads in stunning shades of pink, purple, or blue that can light up your garden from early summer well into fall. What I love most about the Bigleaf Hydrangea is not just how striking it looks, but how much flexibility it gives you as a gardener. You actually get to play color artist with this plant. Depending on your soil's pH, those blooms can shift from vibrant pinks to rich blues, and sometimes you'll even see a mix of both on the same shrub. Talk about a conversation starter when friends come over to visit your garden. Now, why is this hydrangea on my list of top 5? Simple. It delivers those endless, picture-perfect blooms year after year without demanding much in return. If you give it partial shade and a spot with rich, well-drained soil, it will practically do the rest for you. It's the kind of plant that rewards even the laziest gardener, or the busiest gardener who doesn't have hours to fuss over the plants. But here's the trick that makes all the difference. Don't prune at the wrong time. Big leaf hydrangeas bloom on what's called old wood, which means the flower buds are formed the year before. If you get too excited and start cutting back stems in late fall or early spring, you might be cutting off all the flower buds for the upcoming season. The best time to prune? Right after it finishes blooming in summer. That way you'll keep those buds safe for next year's show. Another little hack for big leaf hydrangeas: if you want those famous blue blooms, make sure your soil is acidic. That means a pH of 5.5 or lower. You can achieve this by adding aluminum sulfate to your soil, or even something as simple as using coffee grounds as a mulch. If pink is more your style, keep the soil alkaline, a pH of 6.0 or higher, by adding garden lime. It's like being a painter, but instead of a canvas, you're working directly in your garden bed. Now, let me ask you this. If you had to choose, would you go for the dreamy blue blooms or the bold pink blooms in your own garden? I'd love to know, so drop your pick in the comments below. Personally, I've gone back and forth over the years, and I can tell you, it never gets old seeing the transformation. Now, as good as this one is, wait until you see number 2 on the list. It's just as stunning, but it comes with a color-changing superpower that will blow your mind. Let's take a look. Next up, number 2 on my list is a real showstopper, the Hydrangea paniculata, commonly known as the PG Hydrangea or Panicle Hydrangea. And let me tell you, if you're looking for a plant that keeps your garden interesting all season long, this is the one you'll want to add right away. Unlike the big, rounded flower heads of the big leaf hydrangeas we just looked at, Panicle hydrangeas grow in these elegant cone-shaped clusters. They start off as creamy whites in early summer, slowly transform into soft pinks, and by late summer to fall, they can even take on these gorgeous deep rose or red tones. milestones. It's like watching a living, breathing bouquet evolve in your garden over the course of the season. Now, why is this hydrangea in my top 5? For one simple reason: it never lets you down. This plant is hardy, dependable, and it's one of the few hydrangeas that will bloom beautifully even in full sun. That's right, while most hydrangeas beg for partial shade, Panicle Hydrangeas thrive with more light. That makes them perfect if your garden doesn't have a lot of shady spots. On top of that, these shrubs can get pretty tall and dramatic, some varieties even reaching 6 to 8 feet high, which makes them excellent for creating privacy screens, adding structure to your garden, or even training into small tree forms. They're basically the multitaskers of the hydrangea world. Now here's the key tip that will help you get the absolute best out of your Panicle Hydrangea. Don't be afraid to prune it hard. Unlike Bigleaf Hydrangeas, which bloom on old wood, Panicles bloom on new wood. That means you can cut them back pretty aggressively in late winter or very early spring, and they'll reward you with even bigger, more dramatic flower clusters later in the season. In fact, a good hard prune is exactly what encourages those strong stems and large blooms. Another little hack: if you want more intense pinks and reds as the flowers age, plant your Panicle Hydrangea where it gets good afternoon sun. The extra sunlight helps deepen those colors, especially as fall approaches. So let me ask you, would you prefer your Panicle Hydrangea as a bold, tall, privacy shrub? Or would you train it into a tree form for a more elegant, ornamental look? I'd love to hear your choice in the comments, because honestly, both styles bring something completely unique to a garden. So, to sum it up, Panicle Hydrangeas earn their spot on my list because of their long-lasting, shape-shifting blooms, their toughness in full sun, and their incredible versatility. They'll take whatever you throw at them and still put on a jaw-dropping display from summer all the way through fall. And while this one is all about versatility and evolving colors, wait until you meet number 3. This next hydrangea is the true survivor. It's practically indestructible, and once you plant it, you'll wonder how you ever gardened without it. All right, we've reached number 3, and this one is a true legend in the gardening world. If you've ever struggled to keep a hydrangea alive or thought they were too delicate for your yard, this is the plant that will change your mind forever. Meet the Hydrangea arborescens, better known as Annabelle Hydrangea. Why do I call this one bulletproof? Because it's practically indestructible. It can handle cold winters, hot summers, drought spells, and even poor soil conditions, and still bounce back year after year. Honestly, if you told me you could only grow one hydrangea for the rest of your life, this is the one I'd recommend. What makes Annabelle so special are those massive snowball-like clusters of pure white flowers. Each bloom can get as big as a dinner plate, and when the whole shrub is covered, it looks like it's been dusted with fresh white clouds. Then, as the season progresses, those blooms gradually age into soft greens, giving you a long display of beauty that feels fresh and timeless all summer long. Now here's the kicker. Unlike the bigleaf hydrangeas, which can sulk if you prune them wrong, Annabelle hydrangeas bloom on new wood. That means you can cut them back every single year in late winter or very early spring, and they'll reward you with even bigger, more dramatic flower clusters later in the season. In fact, a good hard prune is exactly what encourages those strong stems and large blooms. Another little hack, and if you've ever worried about winter damage, don't. Even if the stems die back completely from cold, Annabelle will sprout right back from the roots in spring. Like I said, bulletproof. Now, I will give you one little hack to make this plant look its absolute best. Those giant blooms can get heavy, especially after a summer rain. Sometimes the stems may flop over under the weight. To fix that, try pruning just a bit less aggressively. Leave the stems at about 2 to 3 feet tall. That way, the new growth has sturdier support, and you'll get a plant that stands tall without as much flopping. Another trick? Plant Annabelle in a group of 3 or 5. Instead of a single shrub, you'll get a drift of glowing white blooms that light up your entire landscape like a spotlight. It's breathtaking, especially in partial shade where those white flowers almost glow in the evening light. So let me ask you this. Would you rather plant Annabelle as a bold single statement piece in your yard, or would you go all in and create a mass planting for that dramatic cloud effect? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm curious which way you'd lean. And while Annabelle is all about reliability and resilience, the next hydrangea on my list brings something a little different to the table. It's the master of season-long color, with blooms that just keep coming back again and again. Let's check out number 4. All right, moving on to number 4, and this is where things get really exciting. If you've ever wished your hydrangeas would bloom not just once, but over and over all season long, then you're gonna love this next variety. Meet the endless summer hydrangea, the plant that completely changed the hydrangea game when it was introduced. Now, here's why it's so special. Unlike traditional hydrangeas that bloom only on old wood, the Endless Summer series blooms on both old and new wood. That means even if you accidentally prune at the wrong time, or if a tough winter knocks back some of your stems, you're still guaranteed flowers. In fact, you'll often get a first big flush in late spring or early summer, followed by waves of new blooms right through to fall. It's like having a hydrangea that just refuses to stop performing for you. Now let me paint a picture. Imagine it's June and your garden is already bursting with color. By August, most hydrangeas are slowing down, but not this one. Endless Summer keeps throwing out fresh blooms, filling in those gaps when other plants are starting to look tired. It keeps your garden looking vibrant for months on end. And that's why I call it the workhorse of hydrangeas. So how do you get the most out of this plant? Here's my key tip. Deadhead spent blooms. If you remove the old flower clusters right after they fade, the plant redirects its energy into producing new buds. It's such a simple trick, but it can literally double the amount of flowers you'll see in one season. Another pro hack, keep the soil consistently moist, especially during hot spells. Endless Summer hydrangeas love water, not soggy soil, but steady hydration. Adding a thick layer of mulch around the base will help lock in moisture and keep those roots cool, which is especially important in midsummer when the heat is on. And of course, just like the Bigleaf Hydrangea we talked about earlier, Endless Summer gives you that amazing color-shifting ability. Acidic soil brings out the dreamy blues, while alkaline soil pushes it toward pink. Honestly, this variety is like having multiple plants in one, because the color can completely transform depending on your soil and care. Personally, I've had years where the same shrub gave me soft blues, rosy pinks, and even a few purple-tinged blooms, all at once. It's like nature's watercolor painting right there in your yard. Now, let me ask you this. If you had the chance, would you prefer your Endless Summer hydrangea to bloom in cool blue tones that feel calming and fresh, or warm pinks and purples that really pop against the greenery? Drop your answer down in the comments. I love seeing which side of the spectrum gardeners lean. So, to sum it all up, the Endless Summer Hydrangea is a true garden superstar. It's reliable, forgiving, and incredibly generous with its flowers. You don't have to be perfect with your pruning, you don't have to worry about losing blooms to harsh winters, and you get season-long color that keeps your garden alive from spring right through to fall. If you're someone who loves maximum impact with minimum stress, this is the hydrangea for you. But we're not done yet. If you thought season-long reblooming was impressive, just wait until you see number 5. This last hydrangea on my list is the ultimate showstopper. Bold, dramatic, and guaranteed to make a statement in any garden. Let's take a look. And finally, we've reached number 5 on my list. And I had to save this one for last because it's a true garden showstopper. Meet the Hydrangea quercifolia, or as most people know it, the Oakleaf Hydrangea. Now, this plant isn't just about flowers. It's about 4 seasons of beauty. In summer, you'll get these massive, elongated clusters of white blossoms that gradually blush into soft pink as they mature. They're dramatic, bold, and absolutely perfect if you want a hydrangea that can hold its own as a centerpiece in your landscape. But here's the part that makes Oakleaf Hydrangea so special. Its foliage. Unlike other hydrangeas that are mostly about the blooms, Oakleaf has these large, deeply lobed leaves that look just like oak tree leaves, hence the name. all summer long, they provide a bold, textural backdrop to the flowers. And when fall arrives, those leaves transform into fiery shades of red, burgundy, and even deep purple. It's like getting a built-in autumn display from the same plant that gave you summer blooms. That's why I call this one the four-season hydrangea. You get gorgeous flowers in summer, fiery foliage in fall, dramatic bark that peels attractively in winter, and fresh new growth in spring. Very few shrubs deliver that kind of year-round interest. So why is it in my top 5? Because Oakleaf Hydrangea isn't just a flower producer, it's a full-on landscape anchor. It can be the star of a front yard planting, a focal point in a border, or even a statement shrub near your patio. This is the plant that makes people stop and say, "Whoa, what is that?" Now, here's my key tip for success. Give this hydrangea space. Oakleaf hydrangeas can grow big, often 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, sometimes even larger. They like to spread out and make a statement. So when you're planting, don't cram them into a tiny space where they'll feel squished. Instead, let them breathe and show off their natural arching form. Trust me, the results are worth it. Another hack? Don't overprune. Oakleaf hydrangeas bloom on old wood, like Bigleaf and Oakleaf hydrangeas, while others, like Annabelle and Panicle types, bloom on new wood. If you prune an old wood bloomer in spring, you'll literally cut off the flower buds that were formed the year before. That means no flowers that season. The fix? Learn which type you have and only prune right after it finishes flowering. Timing is everything. Mistake number 2, planting in too much shade. Now, hydrangeas do appreciate protection from harsh afternoon sun, but if you tuck them away in full shade, they'll survive, but they won't thrive. You'll end up with weak growth and very few flowers. The sweet spot is usually morning sun with afternoon shade or dappled light throughout the day. That balance gives you strong blooms without stressing the plant. And mistake number 3, over-fertilizing. I know it's tempting to give your hydrangeas a big boost, but too much fertilizer, especially nitrogen-heavy types, will push them to grow lots of lush green leaves at the expense of flowers. You'll end up with a healthy-looking plant, but no blooms to enjoy. My advice? Use a balanced, slow-release fertilizer in spring and don't overdo it. Sometimes less really is more. So those are the 3 big mistakes: pruning at the wrong time, planting in too much shade, and over-fertilizing. Avoid these, and you'll be amazed at how much happier and more colorful your hydrangeas will be. Quick question for you. Which of these mistakes have you made before? Be honest, I'll admit, I've been guilty of pruning at the wrong time myself. Drop your answer down in the comments. I promise, you're not alone. So, there you have it, my top 5 hydrangeas for endless flowers and no fuss. Let's do a quick recap. Number 1, the Bigleaf Hydrangea, the classic beauty with color-changing blooms. Number 2, the Panicle Hydrangea, the versatile shapeshifter that thrives even in the sun. Number 3, the Annabelle Hydrangea, the bulletproof survivor with massive white blooms. Number 4, the endless Summer Hydrangea, the rebloomer that just won't quit. And number 5, the Oakleaf Hydrangea, the dramatic showstopper that shines in every season. Each of these varieties has its own strengths, but the one thing they all have in common is that they'll give you stunning, season-long displays without demanding endless care. That's what makes hydrangeas so special. They're generous plants that truly give back to the gardener. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these hydrangeas would you love to add to your garden first? Or maybe you already have one of these growing. If so, which one's your favorite? Share it down in the comments because I read every single one and I love swapping gardening stories with you all. And hey, if this video gave you some inspiration for your garden, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more easy gardening tips, and share this with a friend who might be planning their own backyard makeover. It really helps support the channel and it keeps me motivated to bring you even more plant-loving content.